You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Bible Guys.
Here we are.
We are here in the studio.
We decided to do one more.
Yes, well, you know, we decided to take us all the way to Friday.
Finish it.
It'd be finish it, Flabisham.
There you go.
Anyway, I always say that to my family, sorry. That is a movie quote from a very obscure Disney movie. Did you ever see The Great Mouse Detective?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not a popular one.
Okay.
But it is tremendous.
I only watch the popular Disney movies.
No, let me tell you something. It's so overrated, it's not even funny.
Okay.
The Great Mouse Detective is a phenomenal Disney movie.
Okay.
Anyway.
Haven't seen it.
Anyway, we're going to go ahead and start with a segment that Desiree has chosen, and she chose it, I think, because it's Friday.
Well, this is so incredibly important because it's everybody's favorite, right?
Yeah, well,
and so we gave you a break last week, Chris.
We did.
We're back. So what made Chris mad this week?
Well, I had it in the wings, Jeff.
Really?
It happened.
Really?
It happened Wednesday.
So you had a thing that you were mad about.
And I told you about it.
Yeah, and you didn't even have to think twice.
You already know what it is.
Okay.
It happened.
Well, inform us.
Okay, so we had a big meeting at our church on Wednesday, which is why actually we're recording today.
Yes.
And it was 12 different people. You know, it's a pretty decent sized meeting, and so I stop at a place that gives donuts and coffee out. I'm not going to mention the name of the organization or the company because that would be rude.
But the initials are.
But it was Dunkin' Donuts. and so I walked in and I said, hey, I want 2, they call them box of Joes, the carafes of coffee. I said, yes. Can I have 2 box of Joes and then some cream and some sugar? And they said, absolutely. So they give me these 2 boxes of coffee, and they get this really big bag, and they stacked it with cups and lids and napkins and stirrers and bags of sugar and cream. And then they sealed it because they peel it and they seal it. And they said, okay, here you go. And I said, okay, great. So I took it and I threw it in the back, and then I had gotten to the church, and I had looked, and here had come to find out the cream were not individual creamers. On the bottom of that bag, they filled a cup of cream.
Oh no!
And they just stuck it on the bottom of the bag.
Ugh.
And yet, here's what made Chris mad.
How dare they?
Here's what made Chris mad. Not that they gave me a cup of cream. The fact that they didn't say, oh, by the way, in the bottom of this bag,
be careful.
Be careful. There's a cup of cream.
Yes.
Hey, make sure you don't put this bag sideways because there's a cup of cream in your car that will literally spill and leak all over your truck if you decide to, put it sideways. So what kind of person does that?
I don't know. A horrible person.
A horrible human being.
A horrible human. What?
Yeah. So, and by the way, it wasn't just 1 cup, 2 cups of cream.
2
massive
that's
cups.
the plot twist right there. We didn't see it coming.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
But hey,
it wasn't 1.
But I will say this.
2.
I will say this. So obviously the bag was sideways. Obviously it leaked, but 2 things that saved me. Number 1, the lid did not pop off.
Oh, good.
Because if it would have popped off, it would have been the whole cup.
Yes.
Right? But it dripped and dripped and dripped and leaked. And there was probably 1/8 of an inch of, maybe even 1/4 of an inch of cream all on the bottom.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yes.
And number 2, the bag, for some reason, was like completely water resistant.
What?
Or it contained everything.
Yeah. Well.
So there was not a single thing that actually happened in my truck. But when I pulled everything out, it was all wet.
Ew.
And so that was bad.
Well, that person, plagues be upon thee.
Yeah, may their teeth be shattered, and may they be slapped in the face spiritually.
If you missed a couple of days ago, we read from Psalm chapter 3 when David was complaining about his enemies.
Yes.
And he asked God to rescue him.
Yes.
And then says, slap all my enemies in the face and shatter the teeth of the wicked.
Yes.
So there you go.
I got to tell you, that made Chris mad a lot.
Well, I can imagine.
What kind of person does that?
I don't know. So there you are again. And I'm going to say this is one of the rare ones.
Yes.
It's not for everybody. You're kind of...
Oh, no. This is for everybody.
Well, I don't think it is.
It is for all...
This one is so precise
This is for
you.
all the women and men out there that have ever had this happen to them.
Yeah, I'm pretty
sure. It is for all the employees.
Yeah.
That
I don't know that this one's as noble as the others. It doesn't feel as noble to me. This one feels like it's just a thing that happened to you and you're mad about it. It's fine, because this segment's called What Made Chris Mad This Week.
I disagree. But let me tell you why. Because whether it's cream or getting your order wrong or whatever it is, the bad customer service is bad customer service, right?
Well, that's true.
And in this case, it was actually like, why would you not say, it's like saying, hey, be careful, this plate is hot. Who would drop off a tray or a plate in front of you and not say, be careful, hot plate?
Right. And other times when you do it because that person consistently probably is giving bad customer service. And this one, you don't think this is a one-time event? Like, he forgot to tell you, be careful, that cup's in there.
Completely not a one-time event. It's a she, by the way.
She's like a serial non-announcer. She's not. She is
Really
every day. Every day she's doing this to somebody.
Really bad at her job.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go, Chris. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you on behalf of all of our listeners who can't speak for themselves today.
Yes.
That you are irate for the rest of us.
You are welcome.
So it's good. Such a noble thing. You convinced me of how noble you are.
Thank you.
For a moment was thinking maybe this was just you.
You question my nobility, sir?
Okay. Speaking of nobility, Joab challenges the king.
Okay. All right. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, that's what we were doing. I was challenging your nobility.
Yes.
And here Joab comes in and challenges David.
Yes. Good job.
Okay.
Way to go, Jeff.
So in 2 Samuel chapter, this is one of our new goals, is to have terrible segues. That's one of our goals.
That's right. That's right. At least for today.
We haven't run this show deep enough into the ground. We're gonna get out our shovels and add one more amazing thing that just makes it even worse.
That's so good.
So 2 Samuel chapter 19. David challenges the king. Joab challenges the king. And it says this: word soon reached Joab that the king was weeping and mourning for Absalom. As all the people heard of the king's deep grief for his son, the joy of that day's victory was turned into deep sadness. They crept back into the town that day as though they were ashamed and had deserted in battle. The king covered his face with his hands and kept on crying, "Oh, my son, Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" And then Joab went to the king's room and said to him, "We saved your life today, and the lives of your sons, your daughters, and your wives and concubines, and yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves? You seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You've made it clear today that your commanders and troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would be pleased. Now go out there and congratulate your troops, for I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before." So the king went out and took his seat at the town gate, and as the news spread throughout the town that he was there, everyone went to him. Meanwhile, the Israelites who had supported Absalom fled to their homes. And throughout all the tribes of Israel there was much discussion and argument going on. The people were saying, "The king rescued us from our enemies and saved us from the Philistines, but Absalom chased him out of the country. Now Absalom, who we anointed to rule over us, is dead. Why not ask David to come back and be our king again?" And then King David sent Zadok and Abiathar and the priests to say to the elders of Judah, "Why are you the last ones to welcome back the king into his palace? For I have heard that all Israel is ready. You are my relatives, my own tribe, my own flesh and blood, so why are you the last ones to welcome back the king?" And David told them to tell Amasa, "Since you are my own flesh and blood, like Joab, may God strike me and even kill me if I do not appoint you as commander of my army in his place." Then Amasa convinced all the men of Judah, and they responded unanimously. They sent word to the king, "Return to us and bring back all who are with you."
Yeah, I feel like I want to read those next 3 verses too. David returns to Jerusalem.
Let's do it. Yeah, so the king started back to Jerusalem, and when he arrived at the Jordan River, the people of Judah came to Gilgal to meet him and escort him across the river. Shimei, son of Gera, the man from Bahurim in Benjamin, hurried across with the men of Judah to welcome King David. 1,000 other men from the tribe of Benjamin were with him, including Ziba, the chief servant of the house of Saul, and Ziba's 15 sons and 20 servants. They rushed down to the Jordan to meet the king, and they crossed the shallows of the Jordan to bring the king's household across the river, helping him in every way they could.
Well, the content of that wasn't as attractive as the title. The title was David's Return to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess
Well, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Really?
As the king was about to cross the river, Shimei fell down before him. My lord, the king, please forgive me, he pleaded. Forget the terrible thing that your servant did when you left Jerusalem. May the king put it out of his mind. I know how much I sinned. That's why I've come here today, the very first person in all Israel to greet you, my lord the king. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said Shimei should die, for he cursed the Lord's anointed king. Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zeruiah? David exclaimed. Why have you become my adversary today? This is not a day for execution, but for celebration. Today I am once again king of Israel. Then turning to Shimei, David vowed, your life will be spared. So that's why those verses were transitioned into the fact that he forgave Shimei.
Right. Yeah.
Shimei committed treason.
Right.
Backed Absalom.
Right. And so David returns to Jerusalem, and Joab obviously has rebukes David, and honestly, David sort of agrees. He doesn't. There's no verbal indication here that David says anything back to Joab. He just comes to realize that Joab's probably right.
It's fair, right? Come on, man. 20,000 men died.
Right.
To defend you, and you're crying over the guy that we had to fight. So what? We don't matter? And that's a fair concern.
Well, he actually said, you have proven today that none of your troops matter.
Right.
And it's almost as if everybody would have died, all of us, and your son would have lived, that would have been okay. Because that's the way you're acting.
Right.
And then he says, go out there and let the people know. He said, or else, I promise you, he actually said, I swear to the Lord, not one of them will remain here tonight.
Right.
And what he's saying is everybody is absolutely 100% fed up with you. But the funny thing is, that's not really how David felt. David, of course, loved his troops.
Right.
He loved his men. He loved, the fact that they defended him. He just, I think, in my personal opinion, I think he was wrestling with more than just the death of his son. I think he is in anguish about everything to the core of who he is. And so he doesn't know how to process it. He doesn't know how to manage it. He doesn't know how to behave or act because he is overwhelmed with grief through and through and through.
So this is really a phenomenal thing. One, it's fair in my mind for Joab to challenge David.
Yeah.
That's fair. But secondly, in verse 11 and 12, 13, David fires Joab and replaces him with Absalom's general. His chief of staff is Amasa now. He fires Joab. He demotes him. He demotes Joab. No longer is he the chief of staff. No longer is he the chief of the armies. And he elevates Amasa, who was the leader of Absalom's armies. Which, by the way, very slick move here. David's decided, okay, I can manage Amasa. I'm not worried about this guy. But he can bring all of Absalom's armies back into loyalty to me. It was a very slick move. Right? Then he demotes Joab. That's going to come back to him in a little while. And he's heading home, and everybody's having a party. And David's like, why are my own people the last ones that come and welcome me? Right? The people of Judah, really? And so he's questioning loyalties here. He's trying to figure out who's got my back and who doesn't. All of a sudden, he's at the top of his game again with all of the difficulties of the moving parts of David's life. All these shifting loyalties, all these things, and David's right back in the middle of it going, okay, I'm going to demote Joab. He killed my son. I can't have him still be leading. I'm going to raise up the leader of my enemy's armies, but he'll bring all of my enemy's armies in, right? Rather than, what if he hadn't done that? What if Amasa, who's a powerful leader himself, what if Amasa had decided instead, no, I'm going to run from David, because if David gets a hold of me, he's going to kill me. So I'm going to take all my armies, and we're just going to keep fighting. It would have turned into guerrilla warfare for years and years and years. Really smart. If he felt like he could manage Amasa, all he needed to do was pull in. And by the way, they were family members, so there's that. He's bringing his cousin back in or whatever. He brings him back into the fold, goes, hey, listen, all's fair in love and war, dude. So come on in. And then everybody's having this big party. They're having a big time. And then Shimei comes down, falls before the king as David is crossing back in from what is modern day Jordan now. He's crossing back into Israel. And Shimei comes and goes, hey, sorry about that. Because Shimei also had committed treason against David. So, and David is just showing forgiveness. It's very strategic. This reminds me of Abraham Lincoln working with people who were his enemies, and he pulled his enemies into his cabinet for two reasons. One, keep your enemies close, right? And so that was part of it. And the other part of it was very magnanimous of him to show, hey, listen, I'm open to hearing from from the opposition. I'm open to working with you guys rather than having you guys continue to build constituencies against me. And it's very, very savvy moves here, as long as he could manage Shimei and Amasa.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just goes to show you that David is God's chosen one.
Yeah.
You know, it is it's a beautiful thing where, you know, think about Saul. Saul was chosen by who? By the people.
Yeah.
Right? And so they demanded Saul. And look what they got. But David, God chose David. So there's a big difference between those two things. So here, David, you know, we just see, even in the midst of incredible turmoil and grief and loss and like curse, I guess, right? In the middle of the curse of, you know, sons rebelling against them and all this kind of stuff. Just in the midst of all that, we still see that David is the guy. I mean, he extends forgiveness, and everybody else around him says, you know, what are you doing? You know, and he says, hey, you know, it's my right. I'm going to go ahead and extend forgiveness. And he's just a great man, and he's cunning, he's sly, he's great, and it's because he's God's chosen one.
Yeah, I think so. God chose Saul and had Samuel anoint him, but the people just embraced him and said, he's taller than us, he's bigger than us, he's better than us, and they had that big celebration. So God chose both of those kings, but the principle is the same.
I thought the people chose Saul and then God relented.
No, the people were demanding a king, and God relented and told Samuel, go anoint Saul. So yeah, the principle is right.
Okay.
But the people were saying, we want a king. They weren't saying we want this king. Remember, he was hiding, and Samuel had to go find him. He was hiding in the luggage because he didn't want to get
I
picked.
remember that, yeah. But I thought it was because the people demanded for him.
So anyways, there is one interesting thing. David says, you know, Shimei comes and very savvy again. Hey, he's going to hunt me down and kill me anyways. This is what he does. So I'm just going to go confront him, and I'm going to let him know, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I'm going to swear my allegiance to you. Would you save my life? And David goes, today's not a day for killing. Okay, everybody else goes, kill this guy. This guy is one of the leaders against you. And David goes, nope, today's not a day for killing. I promise you I'm going to spare you. And he does. But one of the very first things that David advises to Solomon when Solomon becomes king is, you should execute that guy Shimei. Which is fabulous. It's terrible, but it's kind of funny. Is in this moment, David goes, politically, you're right. I need all my enemies to come over and surrender to me, right? That's what he's doing. He's allowing them all to surrender to him. And what that does is it just, nobody in the kingdom is wondering, gee, are we going to have a fight, right? Are we going to continue to have a civil war? With all these enemies coming and surrendering to David, and David being magnanimous and merciful, he's like, right.
Okay.
But then later on, he tells Solomon, when Solomon ascends to the throne in just a few chapters, David's an old man, and David goes, hey, do me a favor. Take out Shimei.
Now, I got to be real here for a second.
Yeah.
How did you remember that? Was that a footnote that you just read? Or?
Yeah, it's a footnote right there at the bottom.
Okay, because I was just like, I was about to be blown away. I'm like, you remembered that from your personal Bible reading?
No.
Okay, because that's amazing, by the way.
I didn't recall that, so I do remember that. As soon as I saw the note, I went, "Oh, this is one of the coolest parts of the story."
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I didn't recall it. No.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was just about to be like, wow, like you remember a lot more here.
I should have just said, well, yeah, don't you?
Right. Hey,
that's the benefit of a study Bible, guys. You need to get yourself a good study Bible.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's the reason why we always constantly reference it, because it is, you know, think about, I mean, you could do studies on this. You really could. You could actually read up on how much work goes into Bible translations. Right.
Yeah.
There are reports. There's documentaries on this. Right.
Tons of it. Yeah.
And then even the making of a Bible like this, you could actually probably watch a documentary right now if you Google it of how many scholars were who came together and actually created all the notes for this. So it's not just like one guy.
There's a list of all of the scholars in the Life Application Study Bible that worked on it. And I don't see it now. But of all of the scholars that were writing notes and translating the different things, It's in the New Living Translation. It's in the Life Application Bible. Yeah, they've got all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are some of the best scholars in the world with regard to, from different seminaries and universities and stuff working on these things. And it just really helps you because they're able to help cross-reference and give you some background and then also offer application. Here, there's a whole big chunk just on Joab. Talking about the life. It's like a character study on the life of Joab with a whole bunch of extra notes at the bottom of where to read. And you should get yourself a good study Bible and get back to paper just a little bit. Because I also have the same study Bible on my Kindle.
Yeah.
And it's not very functional. The tools are so much better physically than they are, because scrolling back and forth and trying to remember where a thing is, it's just really hard to do on a Kindle. But on the with paper, a good study Bible, nothing replaces it.
Yeah.
Not yet.
That's great. Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking? Like something's going to be invented better than a book?
I don't know.
Oh.
I on occasion will use. I have a couple of theology-based AIs that I'll one in particular that I'll use sometimes to search a thing, and it'll do all the search for me, which is very similar to this. That helps. But as far as a study Bible goes, there's nothing even comes close yet. Yeah, it's fabulous.
That's great.
So basically what this comes down to is David, I feel like, is all those skills have not abandoned him. Mm-hmm. He has wisdom now. He has all these other things, and he's making all the right choices to secure the kingdom one more time. And that's what he does. And then he kind of goes on this goodwill tour. He does so many good things for people, forgiving Shimei for a while. All those things.
For a while.
Next week, we'll jump into Mephibosheth and a bunch of these others that he does. Just good deeds. And he starts writing again. And there's a lot of Psalms that he writes during this time. And David goes and finishes things. He goes back to war. He fights the battles that he was supposed to be fighting all along. He just had this 10-year window that just like, man, what happened, David? And now he's back at it. And now I'm super excited about this next season.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that is our time. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will see you on Monday on the Bible Guys.